Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Do you feel stuck, silent, and stressed? Is something hurting your heart and soul? Are you burning yourself out? If so, you are in the right place because this is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with inner peace and joy. Let's get started. Yesterday, I shared with you a teaching of Jesus, and I am actually sharing this with you by sharing with you some of the readings from a book called Jesus and Nonviolence, A Third Way by Walter Wink. Yesterday, the verses from Matthew in chapter 5 that I shared with you, I'll share it with you again today, and then we'll kind of move on from there. So in verses 38 through 41 in Matthew's chapter 5, it says, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn also the other. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the second." Now, we were making the point yesterday that these teachings of Jesus have become highly misunderstood in today's world because we do not understand the context within which they were taught by Jesus. So we cannot fully appreciate their true meaning and intent and purpose. We are going to correct this problem right now. So yesterday I shared with you the historic context as Walter Wink explains it with regards to the first example that Jesus highlighted in these verses of his recommendation for how to react when somebody treats you unjustly. So the first example was, if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. The second example, and this is the one we're going to discuss today, is, and if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. So let's look deeper into what was Jesus talking about with the second example and why was he giving this counsel to his people. The first question to ask here is, who would sue somebody for their outer garments and under what circumstances? So you find the clues to this question within the Old Testament. And basically, this is a scenario where somebody takes on a debt, and really it's only the poorest of the poor that have nothing but an outer garment to give as collateral for a loan. And this is a situation to which all of Jesus's hearers would have been all too familiar, where the poor debtor has sunk so deep into debt, into poverty, that they cannot repay their debt. And now their creditor is hauling them into court to try and seize their property by legal means. Indebtedness was, in fact, the most serious social problem in first century Palestine. Jesus' parables are full of debtors struggling to salvage their lives. And you know what? It was in this context that Jesus was speaking. His hearers are the poor. They are the ones who are being sued. And they share a rankling hatred for a system that subjects them to humiliation by stripping them of their lands, their goods, and finally even their outer garments. So why is Jesus counseling them to give over their inner garments as well? This would mean that they're stripping off all their clothing and marching out of the court stark naked. Put yourself in the debtor's place and imagine the chuckles this saying must have evoked. There stands the creditor, beat red with embarrassment, your outer garment in one hand and your underwear in the other. You have suddenly turned the tables on him. You had no hope of winning the trial because the law was entirely in his favor. But you have refused to be humiliated. And at the same time, you have registered a stunning protest against a system that spawns such debt. You have said, in effect, you want my robe? Here, take everything. Now you've got all I have except my body. Is that what you'll take next? Another point to note here is that nakedness was taboo in Judaism, but shame fell not on the naked party, but on the person viewing or causing one's nakedness. By stripping, you have brought the creditor under the same kind of prohibition that led to the curse of Canaan. As you parade into the street, your friends and neighbors are startled, aghast, and inquire what happened. So you explain. They join your growing procession, which now resembles a victory parade. The entire system by which debtors are oppressed has been publicly unmasked. The creditor is revealed to be not a respectable moneylender, but a party in the reduction of an entire social class to landlessness and destitution. But this unmasking is not just punitive. It offers the creditor a chance to see, perhaps for the first time in his life, what his practices cause, and hopefully inspire him to repent. Far from collaborating in injustice, the poor man has used the law, Aikido-like, to make an exploitive law a laughingstock. Jesus, in effect, is sponsoring clowning, and in so doing, he carries on a venerable tradition in Judaism. As the later saying of the Talmud runs, if your neighbor calls you an ass, put a saddle on your back. The powers that be literally stand on their dignity, and nothing flusters them faster than deft lampooning. By refusing to be awed by their power, the powerless are emboldened to seize the initiative, even where structural change is not possible. This message, far from being a counsel of perfection, Unattainable in this life is a practical, strategic measure for empowering the oppressed. It provides also a hint of how to take on the entire system in a way that unmasks its essential cruelty and destroys its pretensions to justice, law, and order. Here is a poor man who will no longer be squeezed dry by the rich. He accepts the law as they stand, pushes them to the point of absurdity, and reveals them for what they really are. He strips nude, walks out before his compatriots, and leaves the creditor and the whole economic edifice he represents stark naked. So just think about this example, the second example that we reflected on today from Walter Wink's book. I'm going to wrap up right here for today, and in tomorrow's episode we'll continue with reflecting on the third example that Jesus gave in his teaching, the one about going the second mile if anyone forces you to go 1 mile. And then we will, continue from there. Also into an even deeper reflection on what the implications are of these teachings and how we can use them to enhance our lives even today. So until we connect next time, I wish you lots of peace and joy.